Hello, grace and peace be multiplied unto you. I welcome you to today's lesson in science on the topic friction. So, today we are going to talk about friction and how it is applied in our normal lives. Sorry. So, what is friction? Friction is a force that opposes the motion of an object when the object is in contact with another object or surface. So, the force that slows down or stops motion. So in our previous lessons, we looked at what motion was, so movement, kinetic energy. So the force against kinetic energy is what we call friction. What it does is it opposes motion. So if something was to move in this direction, friction will be moving in this direction to oppose the motion, so that eventually the thing that is moving in this direction will actually slow down or stop. So that is why friction is a force that slows down or stop motion. How friction affects motion? If you roll a ball along the floor or ground, it will slow down and stop even though no apparent force is being applied to it. The ball slows down and stops because of friction. Friction slows down a moving object. Friction occurs when two objects rub against each other. So the reason why objects that are moving slows down or stops is because of friction. Now, the moment they rub against each other, there is an opposing force that causes the movement of that object to slowly and gradually come to a stop. And that is the work friction does. A car that runs on a very rough road slows down due to friction. However, on a smooth road, it travels fast. A smooth surface has a very few bumps and hollows. There is less friction on smooth surface. A running object can glide or move continuously with very little force. So for smooth surfaces, there is less friction on these surfaces. This is because they have very few bumps and hollows. Now, imagine that one surface was like this, and then the object that will be moving is also like this. Imagine these two being passed over each other. You realize that movement will be very slow. This is because of friction. Now let's look at another instance. What if the surface was like this, being rubbed against another surface like this? So because the two of them are all smooth or continuous, you realize that movement will be very much easier compared to when the surfaces are zigzag. So with a zigzag surface there is high friction. So that is how it is. With a smooth surface there is less friction, and objects running on smooth surface would easily glide or move continuously with little force. Smooth surface produces less friction and allows shoes and ties to slip. On a rough surface, there are more bumps and hollows. When you push the cart on a rough road, it will travel slowly. There is more friction acting on the moving cart. The rougher the surface, the more friction there is, and thus the slower the object moves. So friction is the reason why we do not fall. So when the surface becomes smooth, then we are we tend to fall by slipping, and this is because friction is less. Friction is lesser on a smooth, shiny surface. Friction is greater on a rough surface. So when you compare the two surfaces, a smooth surface friction is less, and on a rough surface friction is more. Let's look at advantages and disadvantages of friction. Advantages. Friction enables belts to cling to pulleys and nails to hold objects together. So in this picture, you realize that this is a pulley, okay, and the rope is what we call the belt. So friction enables it to stay on the pulley so that it doesn't go off. And friction also enables nails to stay in and hold objects together. Without friction, we can easily pull the nail out when being nailed into another thing. A running car or bicycle uses friction to stop. As the driver steps on the brakes, the vehicle slows down to a full stop. This is possible because the friction between the brakes and the wheels. So it is through friction that brakes are able to stop a moving car or bicycle. The moment you apply the brakes actually have a contact with the tires and gradually stops the tires from rolling. And this is through friction. Walking, running, playing, writing, sitting, standing, or eating cannot be possible without friction. So without friction, even walking will be difficult. Running, we would slip whilst running. Playing, a lot of slipping. And writing wouldn't even be possible without friction. Let's look at disadvantages of friction. Shoes, slippers, ties, and anything that are used for moving become worn out. Friction produces heat that causes objects to wear out. So the more friction increases, the more materials in contact wear out. For example, the more you wear your shoe to walk on a rough road, the more your shoe gets worn out, and you realize that the under starts peeling off. And this is as a result of friction, because the more it keeps scrubbing or rubbing the floor, then the more it keeps peeling and scraping off. So that's a disadvantage of friction. It causes materials to worn out early. Friction makes work tedious because of the resistance. Workers need to exert more effort and energy to accomplish their work to overcome resistance. So imagine, because of friction, nails are unable to come out of whatever they go into easily. So removing such a nail that has been hammered in the wood would be very difficult because there will be some resistance. And the resistance is as a result of friction. Some machines perform less efficiently and wear out faster with friction. Friction also causes sparks, overheating, and machine breakdown. Friction reduces speed. Even airplanes cannot fly as fast as they are able because of air friction. Racing cars and other vehicles consume more energy to run fast and overcome the resistance of the roads. Friction can also make speeding objects to tumble and cause accidents. Ways of reducing friction: smoothing out surfaces. Example, applying floor wax and scrubbing the floor. 2. Placing a slippery substance between two solid surfaces. Example, grease, oil, and lubricating liquids. So if you want to reduce friction, usually smoothing out the surface is one good way. For example, applying floor wax or candle wax on the floor would actually smoothen the surface. Or applying a oil, oil or lubricating liquids will cause the surface to be slippery and reduce friction. Using rotating objects, roller bearings, ball bearings, and wheels. So roller bearings, ball bearings, and wheels are actually things or devices that have been put in place to actually reduce friction. because of their movements. Streamline vehicles to reduce friction caused by air. Example, streamline front of airplane. So in order to reduce friction of airplanes, that is why airplanes have been designed in such a way that the front is streamlined. So such a position or a design is called streamline, to be able to go through or glide through the air easily. Ways to increase friction. New materials with more bumps and hollows are produced for making a car brake and lining. New styles for soles of athletes' shoes. Its aim its aim is for runners to run with greater speed. So when you look under the shoe, you realize that there are lots of zigzags and markings under the shoe, and this is done in order to increase the friction and to help the athletes run faster. So that is what friction can do. If you want to find or feel the effect of friction, rub your two hands and then you feel how hot it becomes. Heat comes as a result of friction. I hope you enjoy this lesson. Enjoy your day, and I hope this lesson helps you solve the answers I have given to you. Until we meet, enjoy your day. Bye bye.